Welcome to today's episode of the Bryan G Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Brian Gutierrez. If you're enjoying the show and receiving value from our content, please hit the subscribe button so that you won't miss out on the next episode. Now let's check out today's show. Hi everyone, today's episode we're going to be talking about all things generators. And what I mean by that are home generators. And to help me with this discussion today is Eric Osburn of Osburn Services. Thanks for coming out, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Brian.
Hey, for those of you who may not know you, why don't you just quickly introduce yourself?
My name's Eric Osburn, local here to Milford, Michigan, all my life, and our business based here in Milford, Michigan. We've been installing, servicing generators now about 23 years. So we're the little small company that's growing. We're specializing. That's all we do is generators, but we do everything generators. So we're going to do a home consultation. We're going to install the generator. We're going to monitor the generator. We're going to maintain the generator, and any service work it needs, we're going to do that. So unlike somebody that does a little bit of everything, that's all we concentrate on is generators.
Where would you like to start? Generators are one of those things where we have generators, we use them, right? We know in concept what they do, but how do they actually work? And I guess there's all different kinds, right? So I guess where would you like to begin?
A simple start is what we're so dependent on our power that we really rely on generators to maybe homeschool, home business, operating our home. So all the everything from our wells to refrigerators and sump pumps from flooding a basement. And then more and more now we are maybe powering our cars with it. It's a part of us. It's not going away, but it seems like the grid is going away, or its stability is not the greatest, right?
Yeah, I think in Michigan, our electrical grid's like from the 50s or something. and you're right. And from real estate perspective, like what I've seen in the last 10 years that I've been in the business is how much more sophisticated electronic appliances are. And that's definitely got to be drawing from our electrical system, right?
Sure. We've got smart homes now. Sometimes you can't open your front door without your we've got Ring doorbells. We've got so many different things out there that we're relying on. We're just relying on it more and more all the time. It's been great for our business. Unfortunately, that's probably the reliability of the grid for everybody else hasn't been. So we really do step in and fill a need that most people don't realize it till it's gone.
That's a good point. You're right. You don't think about the power going out until the power goes out.
Mm-hmm.
And then like, oh, I have that freezer in the garage with all my meat in it, right?
Exactly.
So I guess to start, why don't you maybe kind of tell us like just an overview, like what are the different types of generators, or how would you like to kind of break into the introduction of what they are, the different types, and how they perform?
Sure. A lot of people start out with maybe a portable generator, and that'll provide power to part of the house. You can either utilize extension cords or plug into some kind of main junction and distribute it to maybe more of the house. Usually portable generators aren't enough to power the whole house, and they're not automatic. And then they also have a fuel supply that needs to be replenished, usually about 8 hours on a tank of gas, if you will. So the next step up, I guess, is automatic home standby generators that operate on either natural gas or propane. They just automatically detect a power outage or a brownout, and they automatically start up. They automatically power up everything in your house in about 10 seconds.
Wow, that's great. That was one of my questions. I think you just mentioned it, but I want to highlight it is, all right, so the whole home generators, the automatic ones, um, they can run off propane or natural gas, right?
Yep. There's a third class, would be diesel, um, but most homes are either going to have propane or natural gas,
Hmm.
and it's much less expensive to buy and maintain. So those are the main two um, fuel supplies for natural gas
Okay.
and or natural gas and propane.
Okay.
Most of our houses have that already, and the generators that lends to the automatic state of the generator.
All right. So yeah, why don't we go into the whole house or the whole home generator? Let's just start there and just kind of talk about those a little bit.
Yeah, sure. Generators are designed to power all the house, if not most of the house. And what we look at the needs of the house. So it's going to be anywhere from a small generator, let's say 10 kW, up to usually 20 kW, 25 kW, or larger. Get larger homes and have more power needs. You got to get larger generators as well. Most of
Okay.
them,
Is that mostly kind of based on square footage, or is it actual the electrical amperage that you need?
both.
Okay.
Um, so the more square footage you have in the house, generally the bigger your furnace and air conditioner is going to be.
Okay.
You're going to have more lights and plugs and those little things that are drawing power. So the more square footage you have, the more power you need. But also independent devices like air conditioners, car chargers, electric hot water heaters, electric ovens, and so on are increasing the electrical demand on a particular house.
Gotcha. So let's say my home needs a generator and I call you up. What do I need to do as a homeowner to prepare for your visit? Or what would you like to see from homeowners when they make that appointment to prepare for you coming out to consult them?
Well, we always like to do it in person.
Hmm.
So we actually come out and visit the house. Almost all the time, it's me, the owner of the company, that's coming out to look at it. And we'll assess what the customer needs, wants, and decide what size of generator. We offer 3 different manufacturers,
Okay.
um, Kohler, Cummins, and Generac.
Okay.
Everybody always asks me which one is the best.
So which
So
one is the best?
picture them asking, or somebody asking, who's your favorite kid, your
Right.
favorite child. Okay, so it's not easy to pick, but the nice thing about having a variety that we are a dealer for is that we can find the perfect fit for the customer and not try to just sell you exactly what we've got.
Okay.
So we
Eh,
have a variety.
Yeah, and that probably does make sense. I'm sure that certain manufacturers are stronger in this area than that area. So depending on the property, one thing I've learned from real estate is every property, every home is unique. Everyone is different. So I'm sure, yeah, whatever product would be best to service that home is probably the one you would suggest to install, right?
Yep, and I can explain the differences as well. So some customers know exactly what they want.
Mm-hmm.
They have, 3 friends that all have brand number one, and they've had excellent service with that brand. And we're going to, explain, give them a quote on that brand. And if they ask about other brands, I can definitely tell them what the comparison would be.
Is there anything extra need to do to the electrical box? Like I don't have a generator now. If you could install this one for me, is it can it just go into the existing electrical box, or do you need to augment that somehow?
Well, paired with the generator is going to be what's called an automatic transfer switch. So you have to disconnect your home from the utility grid, whether that be Consumers Energy or DTE in our
Okay.
area. And that automatic transfer switch monitors the power from DTE, consumers, and or the generator.
Hmm.
And when one of the utility companies fail, it automatically will start the generator up. it'll automatically switch the power over to the generator. So
Okay.
that happens in about 10 seconds. And then when the power comes back on, it will automatically switch back over to the utility power, turn the generator off, and reset for the next power outage.
Excellent. Okay. So is that a second box, or does that all go in out of your main electrical box?
It is it is a large box. It's actually bigger than your electrical service panel that you currently have in your basement
Oh,
or in your whatever area houses your service panel. So it has a lot of electrical stuff inside of it. There's a lot of wires. You need a lot of room inside that. So it's a little bit bigger than the breaker panel that
okay.
you currently have in the house. It's they're designed to go outside. Not that they have to go outside, but they are designed to go outside. They're all aluminum, and yep, that gets installed. We have to have room for it. There's codes on where to put it,
Hmm.
and that ties into your electric panel, your utility company, and to the generator.
Yeah. Why don't you just go over just like the general process of you've come over my house, right? You're here. You're talking to me about installing, a generator system that I don't have. How does that conversation start? Where does that go from there? Now that you're in the home, say with me, right? And we're going to talk about a generator. How does that go?
Well, after sizing it, looking at your square footage and your electrical demands, we're going to take a look outside for placement. And with all the different zoning permits, the different codes that we got to, not only zoning, but electrical and mechanical codes, we got to look and find the perfect placement for the generator.
Mm.
It can be a challenge. There's municipalities that have a lot of zoning requirements, and there are also mechanical, electrical permitting requirements. So we got to find the right location for it. It attaches to your natural gas or your propane, and
Okay.
it also attaches to your electric service by means of the automatic transfer switch. So we've got to find a place for this equipment, find a safe place to put the generator, and then we've got to connect it. So we've got wiring and piping that goes from one to the other.
Okay. This is just a total guess on my part. When you talk about like a safe place to put it, are you talking about not too close to an open window because exhaust would come from it, possibly get into that? Is it that kind of thing, or is it strictly just zoning setback kind of stuff?
It's both, but the generators produce exhaust gas,
Okay.
so you can't be introducing that into the house. So you got to look for window openings and other places where it might egress into the house. There's electrical, mechanical codes, so it's got to be so far away from the house. Can't be like underneath a deck. It's got to be accessible because we're going to come out and work on it.
Okay.
Usually once a year to maintain it and service it. And then you got zoning. So we got to keep it so far away from the neighbors, so far away from your property line. Sometimes we can't put it in the front yard. We have to put it in the side or the backyard. So those are all
Okay.
considerations. And there's a lot. So
I
we're
can imagine.
constantly we are constantly updating our lists and trying to keep up, and they're changing it. They're changing it all the time.
What is the maintenance for, or the maintenance schedule for the whole home generator? Is it kind of like, I don't know if I'm making this up or if I heard this before. Um, Say your water softener cycles every night, right? Just to cycle everything through a kind of like a self maintenance kind of a thing. Is there something similar for a generator too? Is there some kind of
Yeah, that's a real good comparison would be a water softener. So every so often it's going to regenerate. A generator is going to what we call exercise once a week.
okay?
And we program and set that up so that it does that. And when it exercises, it's going through a test mode. It's getting the oil, it's lubricating all its parts, making sure that it's producing electricity, make sure it's running right, and it's monitoring itself. So once a week, it's going to do that exercise program. And then once a year is the routine maintenance. Once a year will be a tune-up, an oil change, because the generators have an engine on it that run on their propane or their natural gas fuel. And they have spark plugs and air filters, oil and oil filters. They have a battery, just like your car has a battery.
Okay.
So, there's performance testing on the battery, maintenance, and those are the kind of things that you got to do on a once a year basis, twice a year basis, or depends on how many power outages you have. Just like if you drive your car a lot of miles,
Okay.
sometimes you need to do another oil change. So
That makes sense. Okay. So let's say it's doing its weekly exercise, and let's say that it sees something it doesn't like or it somehow malfunctions. How does homeowner know it? And how does that get to you? Because if I'm in my house and it's Saturday afternoon or whatever, it's time for the generator is doing its thing, I wouldn't know if something is wrong in there. Like how would you know that?
So we've seen some changes in the industry, and one of the best things that's happened with generators is that generators monitor themselves, but they will allow us to monitor them remotely.
Oh, how does that
And
work?
the generator connects to your home internet, your Wi-Fi, or cellular,
Okay.
and then anywhere with a internet connection, we can monitor the customer's generator. So, like when the battery needs to be replaced, we're monitoring that. We're going to get a low battery warning at the office, and you may
Huh.
not even know that your generator's due for a battery, but
Wow.
oil change. When the generator needs an oil change, we're going to get a notice, and it's going to say time's up. We need to schedule an oil change. Now, if there's something more serious like a fault, and it's going to notify us. Obviously, we're going to prioritize a fault and give you a call and get that on the schedule to take care of that. Generators of previous era used to have a fault, usually
Mhm.
didn't find out about it till the power was out
Oh,
and you're in the dark.
that would be so disappointing. Hey, I have this generator because the power goes out. Then the power goes out. What?
Sure.
Wow. Well, that's really cool that this is monitored by you guy. So they have some like in the bat cave back at the office. I'm seeing all these monitors up from all all over the state. Like, but no. So that I'm being funny, of course. But that does message you directly. Then it sends you like
Well,
a warning or a maintenance notification or something like that.
yep.
Right?
During storms and stuff, we are sitting there usually looking at the screen
Gotcha.
and checking to see who's running and who's not running. But most of the time, the generator is going to send us a signal, like it's going to send us an email, it's going to send us a text to our phone, and myself, the office, our service technicians are going to get that and then be able to look at that and say, oh, it's a oil service, we're going to get them on the schedule this week, or here's a fault and we're going to get them on schedule right away as soon as we can. So
Excellent. Well, I love how that's so proactive on your end because, like I said, I mean, myself, the consumer, I wouldn't know sitting in my living room if my generator was acting up or not. Does it send a message to the homeowner also, or just to you guys when something needs to be done?
both,
Okay.
and as many people as you want it to send a signal to, so you could have it sent to yourself, other family members,
Huh?
or some of our customers just said, you go ahead and monitor it and let me know what we need. So
Well,
we
that.
had
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
just had a customer last week, and on Monday, Tuesday or Wednesday, he went out and he was showing off his new generator. He switched it off.
Oh.
We seen that, and this customer was in Detroit. We're in Milford. Well, uh, I was out in that area, so I just said I'll swing by and check this out. And sure enough, let the customer know I was coming over, stopped, and said, yeah, your generator's shut down. And he said, well, I was out showing it to my wife yesterday, And so he shut it off, didn't turn it back on. We got that notice, and I explained to him about where to reset it and turn it back on. But he said, I was amazed because I was going to call you guys to see if there's anything, going on with my generator. And sure enough, we showed up even before he called us.
You're listening to the Bryan G Real Estate Podcast. If you'd like to learn more about me, check out my YouTube channel, Bryan Gutierrez Keller Williams Real Estate, or go to my Facebook page, Bryan Gutierrez Keller Williams. And if you want to hear more of this podcast, please subscribe. Now back to the show. I never knew that there was that kind of technology built into the generator, and the fact that you guys were responsive enough to be like, we're in the area, we're here, boom, and he went there. So I guess kind of moral of the story, homeowners, is don't start flipping switches. Is that what you're telling us?
Well, let me give you the rest of that story.
Okay.
Electrical code changed. We now have to have auxiliary shutdown switches. They're like emergency shutdown switches on the generator.
Okay.
And they hide it, and they kind of put it on the back of the generator. And it's an emergency shutdown. If you flip it off and flip it back on, it's not back on. It is off until you reset it. It thinks there was an emergency shutdown for some reason.
Gotcha.
So the electrical code has required that. So now we're going around fixing a bunch of false shutdowns on this because we've had landscapers bump the switch.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, homeowner, hey, I'm showing everybody how this works and flip it off and on. And
sure,
it's a brand new gadget, right? We all remember trying to program the first VCR, how difficult that was. And well, we're experts on this, but that switch that they have for auxiliary shutdown now does cause us a lot more false alarms than most anything else.
Well, hey, at least it's not the product failing, right? So that's a good thing, for sure. So, what other kind of maintenance might there be, just in the average day in the life of a generator?
Well, you don't want to have a fault, but sometimes there is a fault, and these are all a man-made product.
Mm-hmm.
So every now and then something is going to break, and we're going to be responding to that. Another thing is approximately every 5 years, it's going to be due for a new battery. So that battery is going to be wore down. It's about the same life as a car battery.
Okay.
And you'll be, you won't know the battery's bad until it's probably the coldest day of the year.
Right. Of course.
And your generator goes to start up and it sends us a low battery warning. So we'll be able to get that warning. We'll come out, change that battery out. What we don't want is for that 10 p.m. on a Friday night to get a call because there's a low battery warning or it doesn't start because of a storm coming.
Right.
So this helps us to be proactive on it. The generator is going to start itself up once a week. We're going to see if it has a low battery, weeks before that battery actually fails.
Gotcha. I'm going to go a little real estate right now. There's not every home improvement brings you value to your home, right? There's certain things that that are expected in a house, that it should be should be working, should be maintained. Generator is one of those, or a whole home generator like this definitely brings not only appraisal value, but it also brings buyer value. I break down home value into two categories: appraisal value and buyer value. And so the appraisal, of course, is the nuts and bolts. What is something exactly worked based on square footage and things like that? But also, what does a buyer look at as attractive to them or make them want to think that the home is worth the price that they're paying for? And the whole home generator is definitely one of those items that, as a homeowner, you get a bump for both. You get appraisal value, and then you also get the buyer value with it. I mean, that's very calming to a home buyer, knowing that, hey, if I'm moving from out of town to this strange city I've never been to before, right? I'm bringing my family, I have little kids, and the last thing I need to worry about is my power going out, not knowing new neighbors, not knowing who I can necessarily rely on because I'm new to the area, right? And so that brings a lot of comfort to a homeowner having that.
Yep. And I've seen it so many times when somebody is buying a new house, moving into a new home, they're calling me usually before they move in to give them an estimate on the new house, or
Okay.
they want to take the generator from their old house to the new house.
Is that possible?
The warranty usually doesn't transfer,
Gotcha.
but
Okay.
so that's one thing to consider. And
Okay.
the value that's at the original home does add to it. So usually what I'll suggest is we can get you a brand new one at the new house with a new warranty and
Right.
and so on. But there's so many people when they move into a new home, they don't even know how reliable the grid is in the new neighborhood, but they
True.
want a generator there because once you have one, it is hard to go back.
Gotcha. I think that makes total sense. Now I'm going to go back to real estate homeowners. There is chattel and there is fixtures. We're going to talk about this more in another episode. However, this is what a fixture is in a home is something that is permanently attached to the structure or to the property. So, homeowner, you're selling your home, you want to take your generator with you. We need to exclude that in the listing. You can't just take something, a buyer has an expectation that this permanent fixture is connected to the house. We can't just cut the cord, take it with us, and it's not that easy. But if we exclude it, we can. But that's a really important note there, is you can't just take that kind of a fixture off of a home if you are going to move, unless we put that in our listing. Just a little
Sure.
side note from real estate.
And the automatic transfer switch that's wired into your utility and your service panel, that's a lot of work to take that out. My suggestion is usually buy a new one, leave the automatic transfer switch,
Mm-hmm.
and and then kind of decide on the fixture of the generator itself. Do we move that, or do we think about a new generator for the new house? Because sometimes the new one's not the right size for the new house.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that really does make sense. I mean, if you've had something in place for 10 years, it probably doesn't want to move anyway, right? It just seems like things in transit, you're undoing stuff, you're reconstructing stuff. That just kind of seems like a recipe
we
for
don't
things
move them a
breaking.
lot, but we have a lot of requests to do that.
Really? That is interesting. Huh. I would not think to take my generator with me. But hey, you know. I got a question for you. Is there is there ever a time or a circumstance where someone should not have a generator? Or have you gone to someone's house and actually told them like, yes, like you want this, but maybe we shouldn't or can't do this for you?
I can't think of too many places that I would say they shouldn't, but we
Okay.
have had some very difficult or can't. And condo associations, multiple condos attached to each other, are
Oh,
difficult to find a good placement for the generator
good point.
because that common area outside is maintained and stuff by the condo association. So if everybody had a generator, where do you put them all? So sometimes
Good point.
they might have some restrictions on that. It might be difficult to do, and that's one of the issues. And sometimes maybe you don't have enough clearance on the side, back, whatever, for a generator. You got to have a safe location to put it because you
Sure.
can't have the exhaust, getting into the house.
Oh wow, that I didn't think about that. That's a really good point. You're right. And how would you feel as the next door neighbor and that generator was sitting right next to your deck and it's exercising once a week, making all the noise, not to mention the exhaust concerns and but you're right, because that is shared common area.
Yeah.
That's a really good point there.
So condos present quite a challenge, and then some zoning and some certain places might present a challenge.
So I remember you had mentioned earlier when we talked about the different brands that you carry, and how can you choose your favorite child, right?
Hmm.
If you would you mind just kind of going into maybe the differences between the different manufacturers and what their maybe strengths and weaknesses are?
Yeah, there's one manufacturer out there probably everybody's heard of, Generac generators,
Oh yeah.
and they're kind of the leader in the market. They're probably, let's say, 70-75% of the business out there. They do a great job marketing, make a great product, and they're the most popular ones out there. Going down the list, Cummins generators. Cummins has been around since 1919, and they've got an excellent reputation, a good name, but they're mainly known for their more industrial generators. Everything's built really heavy duty. And a third manufacturer would be Kohler, and they've been producing generators since 1920.
Okay.
So the two oldest generator manufacturers are not the most popular, but they're still a popular choice. Kohler has a great reputation for generators as well. Yeah, everybody's going to ask, well, what are the differences? Because there's not one that's the best out there. If there was one that was the best, that would be the only one that we would sell.
Gotcha. Well, that makes sense.
Over this last year, Kohler came out with colors, so you can now order your generator in about 10 different colors,
Oh.
including camouflage. So those jurisdictions that want you to plant plants around your generator, so it screens it from the view. Now we have a generator that looks like a plant.
Interesting. I would not have thought that. Yeah, because I was thinking that, right, like say someone is a gardener, right, and aesthetics, outside are very important to them, or what you were talking about with the local, zoning codes and things like that. To have a camouflage pattern, you're showing a picture of it there. Oh my goodness, that's great. Yeah,
Will this
you
come
could
out on
hide
the
that,
camera?
right? There it is.
Well,
Oh, that's
we
really
go to
great.
kohlerpower.com. Yeah, they have camouflage. They've got brown, blue, 10 different colors. A lot of the colors match the James Hardy siding colors.
Okay.
So you can get
Okay.
it to blend in. And
Okay.
so my favorite time was walking with a husband and wife, and the best place to put it was in this area where there was a bunch of flowers planted. And the wife said that I don't want to I don't want to see a generator sitting in the middle of my flowers. I said, I've got something and you won't be able to see. And I showed her that, and this is a picture. This is the first camouflage one that we installed last year,
Wow,
and that's a
that's so
flower.
great.
That's a flower bed, and it's awesome that they have that. They offer that.
No, that is really cool that they have that, and it is nice that they have all the different colors also, because you always think about that when I think of generator. The first thing in my mind is this kind of basement gray, right, box sitting outside the house, right?
Right.
Well, it all right. That is nice that they've come out with the different colors and things, so you kind of blend it either into your landscape or also into the look of the house, like architecturally.
Exactly.
Oh wow. Are there any other kind of customizable features that you can put into a generator?
There's the different sizes, and that's usually depending on your electrical load, electrical demand,
Mm-hmm.
and so the location of the generator. Some generators are a little bit quieter. So
Okay.
in areas where generator is going to be on the same side of the house where you're watching TV, or if you're sensitive to that, we can recommend one of the units that's a little bit quieter.
Okay.
Um, there's larger units. We get to bigger houses. These go really big. So they start
Okay.
out at about 10 kW. Most homes will need something in between 10 and 25 kW, 26 kW, but these go all the way up to 150 kW. And after that, it's commercial, industrial, and they go even larger. So,
Okay. Here's another question I have. I don't want to hear noise. Say I'm really noise sensitive kind of person or homeowner. Can I build something around this? I mean, can I put plants right up next to it? Can I build a little privacy fence around it or corral it in? Is there any like do's or don'ts when it comes to that?
There's clearance requirements around the generator because it's got to have fresh air coming in and it's got to blow the exhaust going out. You're not
Gotcha.
going to be able to plant anything in front of the exhaust because it's going to turn brown.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
So
Okay. Can you take that exhaust pipe and go underground and out to an area somewhere, or does it have to just come right out of the generator?
no, unfortunately, there's not much. You can't really alter this too much,
Okay.
and they're fairly quiet.
Okay.
So we put them right outside on the master bedroom side of the house, and it is a white noise, so it's not like a leaf blower or
Right.
gardening equipment and stuff
Well,
like
that's
that.
good.
It's gonna be quieter than that. It's gonna be more like an air conditioner.
Okay.
So
All right, so
um,
it's not really obnoxious kind of a thing. So, and now that you say that, it does make sense that it's a machine and it does need to breathe.
yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Well, it's the sound of security. So when you hear that generator running, you know that you're living just as if the power's not out.
Good point, man. That's a good way to sell it. I like it. These guys are professional, right? Well, is there anything more unique about the generator or generator system that you would like to share with us?
One of the things, the trend in the industry is that all the companies are developing and coming out with something better, and they're one upping each other almost every year.
Hmm.
So Kohler's the first one that came out with these colors and camouflage. I expect other manufacturers to follow suit
Okay.
because it's got a great place. We've sold some of the generators. There's a lot of appliances out there. I don't know the best example, but I've got a refrigerator that won't hasn't even lasted 12 years. I'm replacing it.
Hmm.
So life expectancy on these is 20 plus years.
Oh, really? Wow,
Yeah.
interesting.
And I really believe they're building the product that's going to last that long, and they're not taking quality out of it. They're really competing for who has the best, most durable, longest lasting one.
See that's where competition pays off, right? That's exactly why competition is a good thing
Yep.
because it in this case it's helping companies, manufacturers to produce the better product for the
Absolutely.
consumer. So that's actually very reassuring that they're not getting any cheaper.
Well, I dread the day that they take quality out
Oh,
for price point or something like that, because these are these are a 20 plus year appliance, and generators that we put in 20 years ago are still around.
right.
So
Well, and that really stands to reason based on what you were saying earlier with the Bluetooth Wi-Fi systems that alert you to battery changes, oil changes. Right? It's like you said, it's just like your car. You can buy a Mercedes Benz if you never change the oil, it's going to seize up and die. Right?
yep.
So having a really efficient, detailed maintenance follow-up system like you guys have, it does stand to reason that appliance or machine would definitely last a long time. And that's where maintenance is so important. This is something that in real estate I see all the time is if you don't maintain your home, if you don't maintain the critical systems in your home, they will eventually fail. So the fact that you guys have that really solid system to do that, I think is really really good, not only
Sure.
for your business but also for the consumer too.
Yeah, and when we say the life expectancy is 20 plus years, it's not 20 years of no maintenance and no monitoring, because we're going to replace something in that 20 years.
Sure.
Um, at the very least, we're going to replace the battery about every 5 years, because that's
Hmm.
life expectancy on the battery. They need tune up and spark plugs, air filters, regular maintenance, and stuff like that. So the key is to check up the generator once, twice a year as they get older, a little bit more times per year than when they're brand new. I'm a little bit biased, but you got to have a company that does that. not just going to install one generator or 5 generators a year, and when it's time for service, you're on your own, because we follow through with all the customers on service, and that's a long-term benefit.
Absolutely. No, that's definitely truth there. So, is there any kind of final thoughts on generators you'd like to share with us? Anything else that kind of sticks out there that we should know?
I think just going back to the opening is how much we rely on power. And I mentioned this, how many people come home and the garage door opener doesn't work if the power's not on?
Right.
I don't know if anybody has a manual garage door opener anymore. We all use electric garage door openers. Our cell phones, our cable, our computers that we use for work, they're all usually dependent on the cable box being powered up in the house, so that we have cable,
Sure.
we have internet, we have Wi-Fi, and then there's critical systems like your sump pump, and
Right.
we put a lot of these generators in for homes that can only have the power off for about 30 minutes. Otherwise, the sump pump starts to overflow,
Sure. Sure.
especially this time of year. We're getting to spring and the wet season.
I've seen that.
And home, we do a lot more school from home, turning your assignments in, or actually online schooling. They're working from home. I mean, I seen it during COVID. Everybody really switched to doing a lot more work from home.
Sure. And that percentage has still remained high, and even ever since. I noticed when since COVID, I have my buyers are looking like the home office used to be kind of it's got a home office, okay, 2019, 2018. Now it's like it's got to have a home office, right? I got to have this. And so that's
You got to have a podcast studio.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's where my home office here. So now that we've really covered like the product of a home generator, I would like to ask you, when someone is interviewing a contractor like yourself to install a generator and learn about generators in general, what are some good questions that a homeowner should be asking an installer?
Well, I think it's important that it's you're dealing with one company. You're not having to deal with two or three different companies that's going to come out. So we don't use any subcontractors, and we do the whole process start to finish. I think it really makes a big difference, because when I'm the one meeting with the customer, I've actually done the installs. I'm actually one of the service technicians. I'm the hands-on person, so I can answer a lot of the questions that customers have and make sure I get them the right product, the right answers, stuff like that. So um, there is a lot of good companies out there,
Mm-hmm.
but there's also, you got to weed out some of the other companies that may not be full service with generators, because this is really a specialty. So um, that's important. That's one of the things I recommend.
That's a really good point. Not having subcontractors. I mean, how many times have we, not only for electrical generators, but working with general contractors? Oh, we're remodeling the kitchen. Oh, we can't get the plumbing subcontractor. We can't get the right. We can't get the drywall guy in. We can't get the right. And so I think that's a really good point that you guys provide all those services in one. That's all in house, is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, 99% of our generators are all installed in one day, because we have a full team that comes out, gas pipe fitters, electricians, and everything to that generator, including the customer training that we do at the end of the day. It's all completed, and the generator's ready to go at the end of the day.
Excellent. That's really, really great. Well, hey man, thank you for sharing your experience with us. If you wouldn't mind, just kind of tell us a little bit more about Osburn Services, and maybe a little bit of history about your company. And because I know you guys are growing, you guys are doing really well. And yeah, just share a little bit more about Osburn.
Well, my wife and I are the owners, working owners. So we're in the office, we're out in the field, we're meeting customers every day. One of the most exciting things we got going on is we are well, we're in Milford. We're moving to the new location in Milford. So we'll be moving in there within the next 2 weeks. And
Great.
we're going to set up a grand opening. I'm pretty excited about that. So we have a website for inquiring for estimates.
Okay.
So our phone number or our website, it's osburnservices.com.
Okay.
Or our phone number is 877-867-5711. And we're also available for emergency service if somebody's got that call in the middle of the night.
That's one thing from getting to know you is I can tell, and one of the main reasons why you're here with me on my podcast is I can tell that you guys are sincere about what you do. You guys really care. You offer a very high level of customer service, which is so very important in this day and age. And as you said, because the electrical system in our home is so important to us in our daily lifestyle, it really is refreshing to meet a professional company, people like you guys at Osburn. I really appreciate you, man, and thank you so much for coming on today. Everywhere that we put this video, we're going to have all the links to websites, social media for Osburn Services. Thank you so much for coming out. I really appreciate it, man. I think this was like super informative. I learned a lot of things. Hopefully you guys learned a lot of things too, and that's what this podcast is all about. So thanks a lot, Eric. I really appreciate it, man.
I'm really appreciative of being on your podcast, and thank you, Bryan.
All right. Thank you so much. I'll see you around.
Thanks.